Trump secretly escaped Air Force One in catering truck amid reported Iranian assassination threat. What sounds like a scene from a political thriller reportedly happened on the tarmac in Ankara, Turkey. President Donald Trump publicly boarded an older Air Force One, while behind the scenes, a carefully constructed security deception was unfolding. According to reporting from The Washington Post and other news organizations, Trump was secretly moved off the presidential aircraft in an airport catering truck and transferred to a smaller military aircraft after U.S. intelligence raised concerns about a possible Iranian threat against the president. The extraordinary maneuver reportedly took place after the NATO summit in Ankara in July, as tensions between the United States and Iran were already running extremely high. The operation was designed around one central principle of presidential security. Make it impossible for a potential attacker to know where the president actually is. The Associated Press reported that it had not independently confirmed every detail of the Washington Post's account. However, other reporting had already established that U.S. officials were concerned about a credible threat against Trump and that his travel arrangements were changed as a precaution.
Adventure starts with the right gear, and it all starts at shackshop.us. From stylish women's swimsuits and premium camping tents to paddleboards, underwater drones, and dependable dinghies, we have everything you need for your next outdoor adventure. Whether you're exploring the water or relaxing on shore, gear up with quality products at unbeatable prices. Visit shackshop.us today and make every adventure.
A presidential departure that wasn't what it appeared to be. Trump had traveled to Turkey aboard a newer Boeing 747-8 that had been donated by Qatar and retrofitted for presidential use. The aircraft had attracted enormous attention because of its size, luxury, and unusual origin. But when it came time for Trump to leave Turkey, he publicly indicated that he would travel aboard an older Air Force One aircraft instead. Trump even gave a seemingly ordinary explanation for the decision. The newer aircraft, according to the public explanation, would be flown ahead so American troops stationed at RAF Mildenhall in Britain could see the new presidential aircraft. But according to the later reporting, the public explanation was only part of a much larger security operation. Trump was photographed boarding the older Air Force One in Ankara. Journalists and members of the presidential traveling operation had every reason to believe that the president was about to fly home on that aircraft. But, according to the Washington Post's reporting, Trump was not actually going to remain aboard. Instead, he was reportedly moved through a far less conspicuous route. The catering truck, the most remarkable detail of the entire story, is the alleged use of an airport catering truck. After Trump boarded the older Air Force One, a catering vehicle was reportedly positioned at another door on the aircraft. The truck was then elevated using a hydraulic lifting system, allowing Trump and several aides to leave the aircraft away from the main entrance and away from the cameras. The operation reportedly transferred Trump to a smaller Air Force C-32A military aircraft. The C-32A is a modified Boeing 757 used for senior U.S. government travel. Unlike Air Force One, which is instantly recognizable around the world, the smaller aircraft is considerably less conspicuous. That distinction was crucial. If an adversary was monitoring the presidential aircraft, the expectation would have been that Trump would remain aboard the recognizable 747. Instead, the reported deception meant that the most obvious aircraft became the decoy. Trump was now somewhere else. Air Force One becomes the decoy. The deception reportedly went even further. Journalists traveling with the president believed they were aboard the same aircraft as Trump. Some White House personnel apparently believed the same thing. Reporters were reportedly instructed to keep their window shades closed during the departure, preventing them from seeing what was happening outside. The older Air Force One then departed Turkey. To anyone monitoring the airport or tracking the aircraft, it would have appeared that the president was aboard. But Trump was reportedly already airborne in the smaller C-32A. The two aircraft eventually traveled to RAF Mildenhall in Britain. According to the reporting, the smaller aircraft carrying Trump arrived shortly before the decoy Air Force One. That timing would have provided another layer of protection. Instead of one obvious presidential aircraft traveling alone, there were multiple aircraft and multiple possibilities. An adversary attempting to identify Trump's location would have had a much more difficult problem. Why the threat mattered, the reported deception did not happen in a vacuum. The United States and Iran were already engaged in an extremely dangerous confrontation. CBS News previously reported that U.S. officials believed there was a credible threat involving Trump, and that intelligence suggested a possible missile attack against the president's aircraft. The White House had also acknowledged that Trump faces serious threats. White House Communications Director Stephen Cheung said there were numerous enemies of the United States who had Trump in their sights, and that authorities use every available tool to address those threats. That statement is significant because it did not simply dismiss the broader security concerns. Instead, it reinforced the idea that presidential security officials were taking potential threats seriously. The Secret Service, however, did not publicly discuss the specific operation. That is hardly surprising. The precise methods used to protect a sitting president are among the most closely guarded details in the federal government. The mystery surrounding the new presidential aircraft, the incident also raises questions about the newer aircraft Trump had used to fly into Turkey. The Qatari-donated Boeing 747-8 had been undergoing extensive modifications to make it suitable for presidential transportation. Trump had praised the aircraft, and its arrival generated considerable attention. But after the security scare, questions emerged about whether the aircraft had the defensive capabilities necessary for presidential operations. CBS reported that the older Air Force One aircraft possessed sophisticated defensive systems, including technology designed to help counter incoming missile threats. The White House subsequently said the newer aircraft was safe, but would receive additional upgrades. That development adds another dimension to the Ankara operation. It wasn't simply about disguising Trump's location. It also demonstrated how quickly presidential transportation plans can change when intelligence officials identify a credible threat. A presidential security operation, unlike most Americans have ever seen presidential travel, is normally surrounded by extraordinary security. Motorcades are carefully planned. Airspace can be restricted. Routes are changed. Vehicles may use decoys. Aircraft movements can be coordinated with military and intelligence agencies. But the reported Ankara operation was unusual because the deception allegedly involved people who were actually traveling with the president. Some reporters reportedly believed Trump was aboard Air Force One even though he had already left the aircraft. That illustrates how compartmentalized the operation apparently was. The fewer people who know the real plan, the fewer opportunities there are for information to leak. From a security standpoint, that can be essential. From a journalistic standpoint, however, it is extraordinary. Reporters accustomed to documenting every presidential movement were unknowingly participating in a deception designed to conceal the president's location. The strange scene at Mildenhall, the deception reportedly continued after the aircraft reached Britain. Photographers captured Trump later emerging from the older Air Force One at RAF Mildenhall. That created the appearance that he had simply flown from Turkey aboard that aircraft. But according to the reporting, Trump had actually arrived separately aboard the C-32A. He then rejoined the presidential traveling operation. The new Qatari aircraft was subsequently used for the remainder of the journey toward the United States. The result was a carefully staged sequence in which the public saw what officials wanted them to see, while the president's actual movements remained concealed. Trump later acknowledged the danger. The president has not publicly provided a detailed account of the reported catering truck maneuver. But Trump has acknowledged that he faces serious threats. When questioned about whether there had been a credible threat involving Air Force One, Trump reportedly responded that he has threats all the time and that he is a top target for Iran. His comments underscored the extraordinary environment surrounding presidential travel during a period of military confrontation. For a president, the aircraft is not merely transportation. It is a potential target. The moment an adversary knows which plane contains the president, the stakes become dramatically higher. Why deception can save a president's life? The fundamental purpose of a decoy operation is simple: confuse anyone trying to track a protected person. If an adversary expects the president to travel on Air Force One, then making Air Force One appear to contain the president can provide an important advantage. The real presidential aircraft can then travel somewhere else. In the Ankara operation, the apparent presidential aircraft reportedly became part of the deception. The smaller C-32A became the real escape vehicle. The catering truck was simply the mechanism that allowed Trump to move between the two aircraft without being observed. It may sound almost unbelievable, but presidential protection often depends on precisely this kind of unpredictability. A reminder of the dangers facing the presidency, the story also serves as a reminder that the office of the president comes with extraordinary risks. Presidents are among the most recognizable people on earth. Their schedules are often publicly reported. Their aircraft are easily identifiable. Their movements can attract enormous crowds and worldwide media attention. That visibility makes traditional secrecy extremely difficult. A presidential protection operation, therefore, has to work around a fundamental problem. Everyone knows where the president is supposed to be. The solution is sometimes to make everyone believe the wrong thing. That appears to have been the strategy in Ankara. Questions that remain unanswered despite the dramatic details. Many questions remain. How specific was the Iranian threat? What intelligence prompted the change in Trump's travel arrangements? Was the threat directed specifically at Trump, his aircraft, or both? How many people knew about the alternate flight? Who authorized the operation? How long before departure was the decision made? And how much did the people aboard the decoy aircraft actually know? Those questions may never receive public answers. Presidential security operations often remain classified for years, if they are ever disclosed at all. The Associated Press has emphasized that its own reporting did not independently confirm all of the Washington Post's account, an important distinction when evaluating the most dramatic elements of the story. An extraordinary escape. The image is almost cinematic. The President of the United States boards Air Force One in front of cameras, appears to prepare for a normal departure, then disappears through another side of the aircraft into an airport catering vehicle. Moments later, according to the reporting, he is inside another military aircraft, while journalists and others believe he is still aboard the presidential 747. The decoy plane takes off. The real presidential aircraft follows a different path. and the president arrives in Britain without the public knowing where he actually was. Whether viewed as an ingenious security maneuver, an unsettling indication of the seriousness of the threat, or both, the reported Ankara operation demonstrates the lengths to which presidential protection officials can go when they believe a president's life may be in danger. It also provides a rare glimpse into a world most Americans never see, one where a catering truck can become part of a presidential escape plan, an iconic Air Force One can become a decoy, and a few minutes on an airport tarmac can determine whether an assassination attempt succeeds or fails. For Trump, the incident appears to have been another reminder that the presidency can make its occupant a target anywhere in the world. And for the security personnel responsible for protecting him, the lesson is perhaps even simpler. When the threat is real, the safest place for the president may be the place nobody thinks he is.